What if you could jump anywhere into enemy territory and fight them on your own terms? What if the key to victory always lay in the elements of surprise? What if sandbox elements were applied to a dying genre? These were the questions asked and answered by Medal of Honor Airborne. When it was released in 2007, Airborne met a lukewarm reception from the gaming press, who commended its solid design while dismissing it as more of the same. It was an understandable reaction. Gamers were tired of playing the same campaigns over and over again. The release of Call of Duty 4 the same year marked the death knell of the World War II shooter, and while a few titles have been released since the return to the time period, I consider Airborne to be its swan song, the end of an era lasting almost a decade. The premise behind Airborne is that as a fully fledged paratrooper during World War II, you can take the fight to the Nazis from above. Each level provides you with a few suggested paths, but you are free to tackle it from any angle, provided you are skilled enough to do so. You play Boyd Travers, newly minted member of the American 82nd Airborne Division. With all the common period weapons at your disposal, it's your task to drop into heavily entrenched enemy positions and break them up from the inside. Dropping in from above, you gain a different perspective on famous battles such as Normandy and Operation Market Garden. Airborne's freeform level design allows each of the main missions to be approached from almost any direction, making repeat playthroughs almost a requirement to experience the game to its fullest. Each level begins with a planning phase, in which you're given the chance to study a map of the area and its suggested routes. Zones are color-coded depending on their difficulty, with green zones being the safest place to land among your squad mates, and red zones being the most heavily fortified enemy positions. You can also choose your weapon loadout in this screen. Once on the ground, the guns are varied and satisfying, made all the more powerful by the game's excellent sound design. Sweeping orchestrals accompany your exploits, evoking the highs and lows of classic war cinema. The AI on both sides is responsive and entertaining, with the game going to great lengths to differentiate between the skill of each enemy type. That said, the game is not without its flaws. The overall serious tone takes a nosedive later on once Nazi mini-bosses are introduced, the final level feeling totally out of place. Airborne's difficulty can also vary wildly as a direct result of where you land. Most of the time this is understandable. After all, why should you come out of dropping into an enemy bunker unscathed? But at other times this makes the usually very open level design feel somewhat claustrophobic, as you weave your parachute between enemy fire, searching for the narrow areas in which to land. Perhaps the addition of a few orange zones of medium difficulty would have gone a long way to improve player choice. Overall, Airborne is a modern game reflecting the sensibilities of its time. It's hard to imagine, but in 2007 the FPS genre was in a very different place to where it is now. Despite this, Airborne stands the test of time, bringing with it incredibly tight gameplay, excellent sound design, and a novel approach to a familiar setting.